Welcome back today to Inclusivity. Thank you for coming. Today is episode 2, and we're here today with Dana James, as well as my co host, Lori. Good afternoon, Dana. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much.
So, we're here today to learn a little bit more about Dana. Um, what we would like to know, Dana, is what is your background and how did you get into Black Iowa News?
Yeah, so I'm a lifelong Iowan and went to journalism school, worked as a reporter at the Des Moines Register for 7 years. And I've done a lot of different things in terms of working in communications, having fellowships, writing fellowships. And I started Black Iowa News right when the pandemic was really at its worst, so May of 2020. And I started it because I noticed a gap in information that was being shared by local media about the pandemic and how it specifically related to Black Iowans. So I really had this fear that Black Iowans weren't going to get the information they needed to stay safe. And so I basically did some research, looked at different platforms, and decided to just start my own thing. And it really grew from kind of organically from one person sharing an email newsletter to the next person, and it's grown to what it is today.
So, being that you're an accountability partner or a partner, so have you with Inclusivity as well as a co host, how do you feel Black Iowa News connects to Inclusivity podcast?
I think there's a really good synergy between Black Iowa News and Inclusivity podcast because, you know, as a human being, I'm concerned about issues of sustainability. I mean, really, when you look at how the world is today, when you look at what's happening with the planet, when you look at what's happening with people, there's a connect there between those two. Black Iowa News definitely, wants to share information and wants to be also a positive force in the world. It's a place where I'm trying to create a community of people who care about other people, who care about issues, and so it's just really a great fit to join our audiences that way.
So, a question that ruminates for me is when you think about sustainability, how would you explain that to someone that may not know what living a sustainable lifestyle is or what sustainability is? What is sustainability for you?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because I think initially I used to think of sustainability only in terms of, like the planet or like environmental, right? So you think of, pollution and things like that. And I really, over time kind of broaden my definition of sustainability when you're looking at, the environmental justice, when you're looking at, you know, just how we support each other, when you're looking at like the positivity that's in the world. I think that I've really broadened my idea of what sustainability is, and I'm seeing it more than just like one little thing. And so that's why it was really important for me to be a part of the podcast and to be supportive of the idea of helping, make the world more sustainable. A lot of times, like on social media, this is just one example. I think, you see these arguments and you see the discord and you see all of these things happening on social media. And I start to think in terms of sustainability, I start to think now when I'm going to comment on something, like, is that comment helpful? Is it helpful to the world to put this idea or this thought out there? Is it, how much is it detracting from the world to get involved in these little petty arguments and conversation and how much that detracts from like the mission of Black Iowa News. And so I think about sustainability different. I just try to think about it now in terms of like everything I'm doing and not just, like recycling or something like that. Like I said, I'm trying to really broaden my understanding of what it is, and it's growing. I mean, I'm sure sustainability means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and so it'll be really interesting, I think, as a podcast goes forward to really explore what does it mean, because other people's perceptions will help all of us grow so that we can make this a better place for, children and other people, because we certainly have a lot of work to do to make that happen. And it's going to take each one of us, learning and doing our little part to make this a better world for people.
I love that because our definition of sustainability that we really try to remember and use is that it's about environmental and social justice. It's about making a better world for everyone. And we can't do that if we destroy the planet. And we can't do it if we destroy each other. We can't do it if we look at each other and believe that because the color of our skin or our sexual orientation or our sexual identity, that somehow we're bigger than or better than. And so I love that broadening idea that it all matters and we have to take care of all of it or there won't be a future. And for me that's sort of the what we're doing is creating the future and a future where everyone thrives and everyone can continue. So I
Absolutely.
appreciate that a lot, Dana.
Yes, and I was tagging on my next question was trying to relate it back to Black Iowa News. The word mission came up. What would you say your mission as a part of starting Black Iowa News? What are the values you're bringing to connect all of this together?
Yeah, absolutely. So the mission really is to educate and I say, contribute to an informed community. And I say contribute because, people, you can get your news and your information from a lot of different places, and a lot of it is legit. And so I don't, want to say that I'm, creating an informed community, because people are already, have their different levels that they're bringing to the table. And so really that's my mission, is to contribute to, helping inform people about, everything. A lot of people, tell me that they're amazed sometimes at the kind of breadth of the topics that I cover. And because it's not like when I worked in a newspaper and it was, my beat was minority affairs or my beat was education, which were two of the beats I had. Now it's everything. It's what interests me and it's what I think um, can help people. Like, for example, I talk a lot now about the pandemic still, because it's still a threat to a lot of people, even though, we know America long moved on from where, thinking that it was a threat, but it is. So you've got a lot of, immunosuppressed people, still, having to live these lesser lives because everyone else doesn't want to, wear a mask or doesn't want to get vaccinated or whatever. And so a lot of it is, my mission is to really keep that information before people. And, with the podcast, I really feel like, it'll be a good place again. When, we're talking obviously about sustainability and some of that tea, it'll be a good place to explore, our thoughts and our feelings about the issues of the day, like, the pandemic and like, and surviving this one and then surviving the next one that comes, and all those issues like Lori was talking about when it comes to justice. You've got, all these inequities now around, vaccination, around access to the vaccines, things like that. So that education piece is important. And I really, quality journalism is super important to me. I mean, it's my guiding factor. And I've always said from the beginning, if I need to, make a correction, I'm a human. I'm not a computer. Even a computer makes mistakes, obviously, but I will fix it. And so, putting high quality journalism out into the world and really just pouring high quality energy into the world. That's what I try to do. And so I really feel like I said inclusivity is the podcast is a great fit with that, because you'll be talking to really, interesting, really fascinating, and people who are doing, who align with that, wanting to put something better into the world, because it's all those little intentional efforts of improving the world that we need. We need more of that. And so that's my mission with not only the podcast, but with Black Iowa News.
If I may say, that's what I've admired about Dana. I've been interviewed by Dana, and I love the fact that back to how this came to fruition, you listen to people and you're able to connect bridges and stuff, which gave an introduction for me to meet Lori. And now to fulfill this in the podcast and to have it all come together. Um, I'm looking forward to the tea we're going to bring, the um, conversation around equity and how to make the connections to sustainability, because we need to be able to educate and inform people that there are ways. And like you say, bringing up the COVID is still here. And a lot of people are not, for me, in my opinion, is we're not really moving that kind of way. And we do still have immunocompromised people. Want to tag on to Lori and say, well, Lori, do you have a question that you would like to ask Dana as well?
I mean, Dana, I actually think you've answered all the questions that we need for this first interview. I do want to say that we'll have a secondary interview with Dana, which will be longer. That if you're interested in learning more about her history and sort of what makes her tick and her philosophy of life, that we'll have that soon, and you'll be able to listen to that just like you will about Leah, and we'll even do one with me. I guess the last question I would have, Dana, is if you had one thing that you would have people walk away from this podcast with. And it's our second podcast. So if you wanted to give people a life philosophy or something that they can walk away and just think about, what's the message that you'd like to give out today?
I would like to give out the message to just always stay in a place where you're open to having your mind be changed, where you're open to other viewpoints, where you're open to listen. A lot of times we know how we are, especially as Americans, we listen in as much as we're formulating our thoughts so we can talk again. We do that all the time. That's not how we learn. How can we learn from each other if I'm just waiting for my chance to speak? And so I really feel like we need to have our listening ears on, and we need to understand that, each person is powerful, each person is necessary, and, one person really can make a difference. You make a difference every day in your own lives. And so I really feel like being a part of the podcast, our listeners, I really want them to be able to find something to take away into their daily lives, to improve their daily lives, and thereby improve the world.
We have a partner organization, Inclusivi-TEA, again with the TEA, Facebook group, which we're calling Inclusivity Collaborative. And that's a group that will be kind of echoing some of our sentiments, we'll be launching our podcast there. We'll be telling some of the same stories, and we'll kind of overlap. My sister Bobby runs that, and sometimes she'll be with us on the podcast as well. So we're excited about that. You can join the Facebook group at any time. And we also wanted to make note that our partners in this are Black Iowa News. So Dana will be here with us as a host sometimes, but also Black Iowa News is always our partner in this, as well as Alliance for Sustainability will also be our partner. And Alliance for Sustainability is an organization that's based in Minnesota, but across the country, that their mission is the same as ours, that sustainability is about justice. It's about environmental and social justice. And what can we do to make the world more equitable in everything and to protect the earth? And so we're excited to have them as a partner as well. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that we would love for you to follow us and watch the podcast, listen to the podcast. It's available on our YouTube page, but also on Anchor and other sources where there are audio podcasts, and to join us every week and to tell your friends about us. And let's create a community. It's part of what the Facebook group is for as well. So let's create a community where, as Dana said, we're really taking care of each other. We're telling each other the truth. We're listening. And listening is a key thing.
Have your listening ears on. We can't listen to have any kind of inclusion if we don't take the time out to truly hear what one another is saying and how it would bring down minimum confusion at times. And so thankful that Dana joined us today, and so excited that we all get to do this adventure together.
Absolutely.
And please like and subscribe and, tell your friends about us and come back again. And we'd love to hear from anyone on our Facebook page as well as our Facebook group, any topics that you might have that you would like to learn more about.
Thank you, everybody. This is Inclusivity Podcast, and we will see you next time.